The mahogany benches of the courtroom gleamed under bright, artificial lights, reflecting the weight of the stories told within these walls. It was a place where truth was the only currency of value, and where excuses often withered under the sharp gaze of the law. On this day, the air was filled with a peculiar mix of history and hesitation. Case number 3046, Wyatt versus Moore, was about to unfold, bringing with it 18 years of complicated friendship, misplaced trust, and a quest for accountability. Miss Jill Wyatt stood at the plaintiff's station, her expression a mask of weary determination. Across from her stood Mr. John Moore, a man whose casual demeanor seemed to clash with the formal surroundings. Between them sat the Honorable Judge Judy, a woman who had seen every trick in the book and possessed a legendary ability to separate fact from fiction with the precision of a surgeon. The proceedings began with a simple question of history. Miss Wyatt and Mr. Moore had known each other for 18 years, a span of time that usually implies a deep level of understanding. However, as the testimony began, it became clear that their shared history was more of a labyrinth than a straight path. They had lived together on a few occasions, the last time being in January of 2022. They had resided in a house, though the legal nature of their stay was murky, involving an informal arrangement with a third party. Mr. Moore, however, was quick to offer a different version of reality. He claimed they had never been in a formal relationship and had never lived together as a couple. He spoke of a current girlfriend and portrayed his time with Miss Wyatt as mere visits. But the judge was not easily swayed by semantics. She pointed out that if Miss Wyatt had allegedly destroyed the house, as Mr. Moore claimed, she must have been in the house. If she had conflicts with the neighbor upstairs, she must have been present to experience them. The truth began to emerge from the shadows of his denials. The heart of the dispute lay in a period of 78 days when Miss Wyatt was incarcerated. Her journey to that point was a sobering one, born from a mistake in 2018 that eventually led to a probation violation. She had been convicted of retail fraud, an act she described with a touch of humility as stealing a Thanksgiving dinner. It was a poignant reminder how desperation can lead to lasting consequences. During her time away, she had entrusted Mr. Moore with her phone and her financial accounts, believing that an acquaintance of 18 years would protect her interests and pay her bills. Mr. Moore acknowledged receiving the phone, but his interpretation of his responsibilities was far more fluid. He claimed the phone was meant for him to provide her with commissary funds and to keep up with her belongings. He mentioned paying phone bills and even a computer purchase, but the accounting was vague. He suggested that Miss Wyatt wanted him to stay in her trailer while she was gone as a way to remain connected to him, a claim that seemed increasingly unlikely given his insistence that he was living elsewhere with his girlfriend. The narrative took a dramatic turn when the discussion moved to Miss Wyatt's car. While she was serving her time, Mr. Moore had taken upon himself to drive her vehicle. He explained that his own truck was loaded with heavy field engineering equipment, and he only needed to travel 1 block to his job. In a stroke of unfortunate luck, the alternator failed in the middle of the street, leading to the car being impounded. The judge questioned the logic of allowing a car to be impounded simply because it stopped running. A responsible person would call a towing service or a repair shop, not leave it to be seized by the authorities. Furthermore, the mystery deepened regarding how Mr. Moore managed to retrieve the car from the impound lot. Such facilities require proof of ownership, yet the car was in Miss Wyatt's name. Mr. Moore claimed he had the title because he had access to her home, and he eventually admitted to retitling the car in his own name and obtaining insurance for it. He insisted he did this to save the car from mounting daily fees of $30, and that he eventually signed it back over to her. The courtroom then turned his attention to a counterclaim filed by Mr. Moore. He sought $2,000 for what he termed a false arrest following an incident at a bar on February 13th. He described a scene where Miss Wyatt had allegedly pressured him to leave, leading to a confrontation outside. He claimed he was wrongfully accused of domestic violence and arrested on the spot. However, the legal documents told a more complete story. The criminal case had been dismissed only after Mr. Moore agreed to pay restitution in the amount of $246 for a pair of broken eyeglasses. By signing that agreement and paying the money, he had legally acknowledged a level of responsibility that contradicted his claim of a completely false arrest. In a moment of unintended honesty, Mr. Moore described himself a phrase that hung in the air. He admitted to being monogamously challenged. It was a rare flash of self-awareness that seemed to encapsulate the entire chaotic nature of their involvement. The judge, having heard enough of the shifting stories and the lack of accountability, reached her decision. She saw a woman who had tried to rebuild her life after a mistake, and a man who had treated her trust with a lack of seriousness. The judge dismissed a counterclaim for false arrest, noting that the payment of restitution invalidated the premise of the claim. She then focused on the $1,000 that had been taken from Miss Wyatt's account for the impound and title issues related to the car. The verdict was a victory for clarity and responsibility. Miss Wyatt was awarded $1,000, a step toward making her whole again after a period of hardship. As the court adjourned, there was a sense that justice had not only been served, but it also provided a vital lesson in the importance of choosing one's confidants wisely. Miss Wyatt walked away with her dignity intact, supported by her adult son, Andrew, who stood as a symbol of the stable life she was striving to maintain. Mr. Moore left with his excuses, but the truth remained firmly established in the record of the court. It was a story of human frailty, the complexities of long-term connections, and the ultimate triumph of the truth when placed under the light of fair and firm hand. The lesson was clear for all who witnessed the proceedings. Trust is a precious commodity, and responsibility is the foundation of any meaningful relationship. In the end, the truth did not just slap anyone in the face. It introduced itself clearly and ensured that justice was done. Jill Wyatt felt a sense of relief wash over her as she exited the building. The past 18 years have been a long road, filled with ups and downs, but this day marked a turning point. She realized that she did not need to rely on those who were not fully committed to her well-being. She had her son, she had her work, and she had the strength to move forward. The laughter and positive energy of the world felt a little closer now, unburdened by the weight of unresolved disputes. It was a beautiful day, and the future looked bright with the promise of new beginnings and honest paths.